Hello and welcome everybody back once again to the Screen to Speed Round 2 as we get ready to head over to Japan for the Okayama circuit. Today though, a little bit different of a layout than the traditional Okayama that you're used to. We shorten it up a little bit with a 1.7 mile or 2.8 kilometer, 8-corner circuit that removes the long back section. It's going to be tight. Let's get into it, though, as today I am your host, Mike Noss, and joined alongside me is none other than the Jackson Lambros. Jackson, as we get ready to see these ladies out on track here today, how are we feeling with the shortened layout here of this wonderful, wonderful Japanese circuit?
It's a bull ring, Mike. Less than a minute here per lap, just about 1.2 miles long. And you look at how much this simplifies the course. That could potentially make things a little bit easier for overtaking, although you are losing a lot of overtaking spots in that what would be the end of the first, start of that middle section on track. But case in point, you combine that moving over from the Formula Vs to the BMW M2, we've got a rocket ship over, gosh, in some cases, 300 horsepower on tap, depending on the configuration. And for a couple of long straightaways here with some heavy braking zones, this could be very interesting for round number 2.
Yeah, it absolutely could be. And with this shortened layout, it's going to tighten things up and make that final corner of the circuit just that much more important. The first corner being one of the better overtaking zones, and the fifth corner also being a great opportunity as well. We've talked a lot about this track. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other tracks that we have on this calendar, as well as our Team America calendar that we have coming up as well. Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps is up next in the FIA F4 as we get ready to head over Spa for what's going to be probably a draft fest over for Team America. That's April 12th, by the way. On top of that, we have our Screen to Speed Championship, our women's only series. That's what you're watching right now, in case you were curious. That's going to head over to Tsukuba in the GR86s, a very, very amazing, in my opinion, car track combo. You get the Japanese cars on the Japanese circuit again. Some amazing tracks over across the pond there. And we get to see one today as we kind of segue back here to this circuit that was founded back in 1990 and pretty much unchanged since 2020, or really, I guess, 1990 when it was sort of formalized. Used to race a little bit of Formula One here over the years, Jackson, but that certainly has changed as safety regulations have gone on.
Absolutely. Now a FIA Grade 2 circuit, I believe, so just below that Grade 1 needed for a Formula 1 Grand Prix, but still a state-of-the-art facility. As you mentioned, Mike, started out originally as a thermal club, as we would call it here in America, kind of a motorsports country club, as you will, but has since then opened up to the public. And as of right now, these very M2 CS cars will race this year for SRO, for GT World Challenge Asia. Also Super TyQ, Super GT, Super Formula Lights. If there is a big racing series in Japan, it's gone there. But as you mentioned, Formula One as well as World Touring Car Championship, some really, really big venues there. But in their own words, taken the hits from specifically British motorsports, which is funny considering we just jumped the pond from Moulton Park for round number 1 for Screen to Speed. But no, genuinely one of the great circuits, and especially in this lineup of free tracks that iRacing.com offers, one of the more challenging. You get a great mix of corners, you get a great mix of cambers too, off-camber stuff at the beginning, and then some tight and technical stuff, but really some rewarding fast sections of corners that really rewards the drivers at the tail end if you get things right.
Yeah, and on top of that, of course, located in the mountains here in Okayama for Japan, we can see that is the short layout. Again, we are, as you mentioned, in the BMW M2 CSR. That's going to be a sort of cup type car, and we have two 15-minute races out here for tonight. Yes, not one, but 2 chances for the drivers to gain it all, and it will be a points format, so the drivers will be gaining points from race 1, and then also race 2. It'll be added up, and we'll be taking the winner of that, and that will be the winner, period. This is not a championship here at Screen to Speed, so for example, as you mentioned, we come from the previous race to this one, there are no points being transferred in that way. These are all one-off, fun-off races that we have once a month here at Init Esports. And with that, I think now is a great time as well to thank our sponsors that we make all of these events possible, starting off with our main sponsor, Regadget. one of, if not the coolest place to be for getting a computer. Regadget gives old technology a second life, securely refurbishing devices, recycling e-waste, and helping close the digital divide between tech and hands-on people who need it most. They go through and give it to affordable devices out to communities such as schools, libraries, and basically people that otherwise would not have access to a computer. Regadget is going to be there for that, and you can also send your computer into them. They will cover the cost of it, and you can get that refurbished and out to a family that needs it just a little bit more. Don't throw away that hunk of junk that you have in the corner. Send it off to Regadget. Also, we're live on TV. Yes, hello, Mom, over on Roku at Esports Edge. Massive shout out to those guys. On top of that as well, we are live over in an eClutch in the MENA region, so a big shout out as well to eClutch and everybody that makes these possible, as well as you mentioned, Jackson, the iRacing platform that we are racing on here today. We have some big news coming. I can't quite say it yet, but over on iRacing, some big things to come very shortly. And if you are interested in finding out what I'm talking about, you can head on out over, scan the QR code that'll be on your screen here in a second to join our Discord. If you want to get involved with our community, that is the best place to do so. We host not just Screen to Speed and Team America, we also have other fun races, other fun championships. We got some NASCAR championships coming up soon. We have as well our our once a week weekly series that we run. That's just for fun and just to get people practicing out on track. We even do practice sessions, for example, like Screen to Speed, like we had last week, and that was an absolute hoot of a time out on circuit, and it always is. So if you are interested in that, scan that QR code, or you can visit our website, initesports.gg/carsim. Now, with that being said, we can talk a little bit more about the format that we have for tonight. For the, expectations that we have for tonight. Some of the lap times, I mentioned we had a practice session last week over in the iRacing fun sessions, the hosted sessions, and we saw the 57.5s being a very competitive time. Now, Jackson, as we've sort of segued over into qualifying, we'll be kind of covering the results of that very shortly, but 57.2s are going to be extremely competitive. That's what we're seeing right now, and I'm very curious to see how this grid stacks up, because qualifying, Jackson, is going to be extremely important.
Absolutely, and when you have a track this short and lap times this short, things are going to be very noticeable on track when it's just, down to half a second, a tenth of a second. But you look at kind of what we learned from our practice sessions earlier on this week, Mike. That front straightaway going to be so pivotal, not just for making overtakes into the first corner, but really making things possible. With all respect to BMW, these things are bricks, and you need to stay in the draft of someone to really have a chance of overtaking, staying in contention for a battle. So really being able to stay on the rear bumper of the guy in front of you, going to be huge for staying in contention. But again, we have some people, we've got a very good mix of women here, not just from all parts of the globe, but all skill backgrounds as well. And we cater to that. But you look at, some people running 57s and a couple still struggling to work down to the 58s. And we get to the tail end of maybe 15 minutes here. What's not to say blue flag traffic could be a factor. That was something we were dealing with the FVs at Alton Park. But now with 16 ladies out on track, that could certainly be a factor as well. So definitely a lot of different factors. It's a lot more simple of a course, but all that means is it's a lot more for people to think about overtaking and optimizing each lap.
Simple on paper, yet Jackson, we do not drive on paper. We drive on tarmac, and that is all thrown out the window when you have a bunch of cars surrounding you and everybody trying to go for that one same position, P1, the one to take it all. Now, we'll see as we get into it, with the slipstream, how that plays a role. The final corner, in my opinion, kind of being the most important one out of all of them. It's very easy to run wide beforehand and lose your momentum, and then on top of that, just compromising your run through that final corner is going to be, it's going to make you a sitting duck, really, on that start-finish straight. And, just for anybody that is joining us, first off, if you are new to motorsports, welcome. We are going to, of course, be explaining things as we go along here. And what is slipstreaming, Jackson? We've mentioned this word a few times now. Why don't you explain it for those folks at home?
Well, if you've seen NASCAR or any form of oval racing, that's mainly where it's the most predominant, just because speeds are so high. But plain and simple, if you have a car in front of you that's punching a hole in the air, you've got way less air resistance to the car in front of you. So what that means is you can easily have a better top speed and, in theory, a better run. So you'll always see at the end of straightaways, people just going out of the car in front of them, using that kind of momentum generated by the slipstream to try and make an overtake. Now, on oval racing, you might see this a little bit more. We absolutely see it in karting as well, Mike, but people locking bumpers and pushing one another. I'm not sure if that's going to be in the game plan tonight. It's very rare that we see that in road racing. I've seen it a couple times at Monza, but it is very difficult, and you definitely need people on the same brainwaves to make that happen. But more likely than not, it's just going to be using the guy in front of you to, if anything, stay in the conversation for a battle. And if you're in the right place at the right time, could be the pivotal tool used for an overtake.
Yeah, the right place at the right time here at the circuit could just be capitalizing on others' mistakes. Also, just to explain a little bit more, by the way, some of the other terms you might be hearing throughout the night, you'll hear a lot about mechanical grip versus aerodynamics. That's going to be one that quite simply can be explained by all of the little sticky outy bits that you'll see on a Formula One car, the big wings, the big winglets, and all the little tiny bits that stick out as well. That's going to cause the air to push down on the car more, and especially through the corners, give them a tremendous amount of speed. These cars, they don't have that. They rely purely on the suspension rolling their way through the corner, and that's going to make a much more slow style of racing, but as well, typically one that allows for a lot more dive bombs, a lot more late lunges. You're able to have a long braking zone, which means that you can go down for a move. And I'm just getting a whisper in my ear, by the way, from our producer, Tom Bryant with AK Esports UK, that we're going to be hearing from the results here very, very shortly. Qualifying is done and dusted, and my goodness, Jackson, I was peeking at the time charts as we went through it. It is close. The top 8 are separated by near hairs, and this is how it stacked up. Sarah Dove from Scotland topping the time charts in the 177 BMW machine, with Lucia Tosi from Costa Rica behind in the 107. Katie Geisler in P3 with the number 32, and Jess Vesser in P4 for the number 22. Behind, Christina Ryan running in 5th position, with Sophie Huflar back in 6th. Olivia apologies in advance, Krostanausha in P7, with Brooke Protasavage in P8. Annalise Riot running in 9th, with Paige Kaufman just rounding out your top 10. Alyssa McKenzie coming into 11th, with Kristen Montgomery in 12th. Alexis Barrington running in 13th, with Afrin Sheed in 14th. Carly Carvalho 15th, and last but certainly not least on the grid, Madeline O'Connell in the 297 BMW M2CS. And these results, of course, brought to you by Regadget. We're getting to it very shortly. The grid, Jackson, is gridding, and the nerves at this point are going to be at their all-time high.
And Mike, what's really standing out to me here, you look at that top 6 and the gap from first there, pretty much about 0.3 of a second. And that is about just what we want in terms of competition, especially in a track this tight. But Sarah Dove just able to eke out the most performance in this M2 over the Costa Rican Lucia Tosi. This is going to be a really, really good battle. And then it's the twin Germans we've seen, the two teammates, Geisler and Wisser, that were so strong at Oulton Park as well. And a lot of guys trying to repeat the podiums we saw in round number 1, but a couple of newer names just in the fray as well. You mentioned Christina Ryan, as well as Sarah Dove, who really did look strong in that opening weekend, but just wasn't able to fully deploy it to a victory. But things are looking good now. Can she make it a first victory of the year?
Yeah, we'll certainly find out. And if you want to get out on grid, by the way, and challenge the likes of Sarah Dove, challenge the likes of Jess Visser, who ended up taking victory in a previous race, Sophie Huflar as well, who did the same, head on over, can scan the QR code that's going to be popping up on your screen here to join Screen to Speed. This is a link that'll bring you over to our website, initesports.gg/carsim or screentospeed.com. You can sign up over there, get involved. Again, this is our all-women's championship, and we highly encourage you to do so. It creates a safe space for everybody and a great opportunity to display your talent out on track. And on top of that, just have a bit of fun. That's the whole goal of this at the end of the day. Build a community, get out involved in that community, and have a good time with all of these lovely ladies out on circuit. And again, if that's something that interests you, scan that QR code on your screen. On top of that, we have our Team America Championship that we have coming up as well. That's going to be, again, in the FIA F4s at Spa-Francorchamps up next. You can scan the QR code there to join the action as well. you don't want to miss it, is our Team America qualifiers. So for any nation cups throughout the world, we will be participating in both LAN and online championships. And if that is something that interests you, if you are an American, get involved, scan that QR code, and join Team America. Now, with that being said, the cars, they're out on circuit. They're going to be getting ready, getting the crucial last bits of heat into those tires. And for this very, very short out lap, it is a jam-packed BMW grid. You can see the BMW pace car leading the field through the penultimate corner as we speak. It pulls in. Sarah Dove will retain that lead now and go through the final corner. It'll be on her mercy when the green lights fall. The start here of Screen to Speed Race 2 is about to be underway. As we get ready, the cars stacked up 2 by 2, Noah's Ark formation, as we head now to the line, and it is going to be a green flag running, and already we're 4 abreast in the background. Sarah Dove shot out of the start like a cannon. Sophie Hooflar making moves in the background there, getting alongside the likes of Christina Ryan. A little bit of bumping and banging as I see the Camber and Caster car round. Unfortunately gets rounded back, though, fortunately, from, I think, Alyssa McKenzie, giving her friend a helping hand. Down to the inside, though. Oh, as unfortunately McKenzie gets tagged from, I think, Carvalho in the background there. Paige Kaufman with a meatball flag. Hopefully she can manage that back soon. But Sarah Dove Jackson at the start here is running away with this one. 5/10 gap to Geisler, 5/10 to Ryan.
Got the good reaction, and you can see 2 big losers further back. Lucia Tosi way back now to P6, and Jess Weiser as well, P7, just behind 2 guys that were just behind the Flying Scotsman, trying to claw their way back. But now for Katrina Geisler and Christina Ryan, the fight is on. These guys need to do all they can to close this gap to Sarah Dove, and you already see Geisler going a little bit early there on the inside. I think that's covering from Ryan a little bit further back, but can these guys do anything to try and close that gap to the 177 out in front?
Yeah, I'm not sure right now. They need to work together, and with that, of course, that's going to bring Sophie back in if they keep battling. Currently, we see a lot of positions gained and some lost. 2 positions for Ryan, 2 positions for Sophie, 2 positions for Olivia, and almost making that a 3rd on cue. Lucia Tosi in the mix right now, down 4 positions from where she started. One of the favorites, I would say, coming into tonight as well, so with a lot of work here left to do, Lucia Tosi has got the weight of the world on her shoulders. Paige Kaufman, by the way, unfortunately, with that meatball flag, did head back into pit lane. That's going to put her in the back of the grid. Hopefully in race 2, she can have a better start. Unfortunately, that I think will mean that she starts at the back of the grid. This, by the way, is what caused that. So as we saw at the start, a 3 abreast heading down into the first corner, and there, Paige, a little bit deep, catches the back, and I would almost say with a little bit of net code there involved, tags the car ahead, spins loosely, gets righted back round, thankfully for her, but regardless, the damage was done, and that's going to be a trip back down to pit lane. The suspension probably firmly busted for the Camber and Caster team, which, by the way, if you are down in San Diego and in that area, check out Camber and Caster, a great place to hang out for sim centers if you are down there. Paige is down there as well. So shout out, of course, to all of the lovely people down there, Jesse, and everyone that makes it possible down at Camber and Caster. Now, back to the racing, though. Katie Geisler up into 2nd right now. Christina Ryan still biting at the heels, but that gap, Jackson, it's not really coming down that much, but right there, Sarah Dove running wide. Those are the mistakes that we need to capitalize on and gain that momentum, use the slipstream, and try to work back to the bumper. But
you can see all of those clouds kind of generating in the last corner because everybody's trying to carry as much speed as possible as we ride on board with the 80 of Christina Ryan. But look at all of that gravel just on the outside of the line there, Mike. The minute you get outside of the racing groove, the marbles, all of that extra gravel that's been kicked up on track from people running wide, that is going to make it a tightrope walk if you want to try and go offline and really make an overtake around the outside. You can see it as well. They're just on the left-hand side of your screen looking back on the rear bumper, or from the rear bumper of Sarah Dove. You'll see it as well here as we work our way out of Mike Knight and into the final corner. But if you go offline and try going around, you can see it as well just right here. And Tosi doing a little bit more and kind of gathering that collection on the outside of the racetrack. But the marbles, as we call it, all that does is grab onto these racing slicks and kill any grip that's on the outside. We see it predominantly in oval racing, but with these guys, again, trying to maximize all of that momentum corner to corner, we've seen it gather so much out, on the racetrack here outside of the racing group. And look at that right here through Piper Corner. And it's catching out Tosi. She goes around on the exit of Piper Corner in the exact way we talked about it. Nearly got it out broadside and now loses the front bumper, trying to get back out on track. But Mike, a bad day unfortunately becomes an even worse race number 1 for Tosi.
Yeah, slipping around like a dog on a freshly finished hardwood floor, unfortunately. It's so easy to lose traction through those marbles. And on top of that, these cars with such a short wheelbase, they turn a lot, and this being a very right-hand dominant circuit, your left-hand tires are going to be screaming. After probably about 5 minutes, they're going to start to feel the tire wear as they get into this race, and that's going to make overtaking and even keeping it on the circuit just that much more difficult as Lucia Tosi unfortunately runs into herself. And part of that as well just being a little bit of impatience, I think, not waiting for the correct opportunity, trying to force an issue that isn't there. But I say that, and I mean, as we drive through that sector, Jackson, look at all the marbles. That is absolutely incredible. It's like you're pretty much on a hiking trail.
You saw it almost catch out Hoofler there too as well. Back end just stepped out a little bit and was able to catch that slide. But we mentioned as well, Christina Ryan, you see it on the left-hand side of your screen, up 3 positions and just was able to make that move into P2. Watch that orange EV car. I think this is going into Redmond Corner, and it actually starts with the one in front, defending just a little bit too much. And that is indeed Geisler just going a little bit too deep, trying to cover down low. Coincidentally, Mike, also where the marbles are. So again, going offline, whether it's to attack or to defend, it's going to be risky. But you got to be that guy to kind of go out first and try and clear the track in that area if you want to make a move later on.
Absolutely, and we saw that nice little lunge as well, that being the best overtaking opportunity really on the track, and just trying to capitalize the fact that you run wide. There's 2 chances to get by through Redmond Corner, and you can either work your way to the inside just like we saw, where you go deep, make sure you carry the momentum and get it done, or you can even go wide on the outside and then have the inside line for the next corner. There's a plethora of ways to get the move done, and it looks like Mackenzie is trying to make one work herself. This being a little different corner, catches the marbles, comes back round, and at the apex there is contact. Montgomery and Mackenzie clatter together, and unfortunately a big thwack to the barrier for the Taco Bell machine, and that is going to be a trip more than likely back down to pit lane. Mackenzie rejoins the circuit ahead of Carvalho, now with a new little friend to battle with. Hopefully she can get her head firmly screwed back on her shoulders and lock right back in. This, Jackson, is what happened.
Minute I knew she was on the outside, she was gonna have to battle with it. And the one thing I was worried that was gonna happen is exactly what did. As watch that Taco Bell machine on the outside gets into the marbles. How much does she need to countersteer in order to keep that alive as they continue to go too wide? Neither driver wanting to bail out, then goes back down to the middle of the racetrack and just wasn't fully clear there, Mike.
Yeah, I think she would have had the overtake done if she just held that outside line, but I think in her heart of hearts thought that she was clear, moved over, and unfortunately it was not clear. I've been there so many times I can't even count. It's unfortunate, you hate to see it, and the results are Montgomery in the pit lane, unfortunately, and going to be rejoining the circuit. By the way, Paige Kaufman back out on circuit as well, so you love to see that. The heart to finish, you don't want to see anybody end up DNFing. You want to make it to the checkered flag. It's a victory no matter what position you finish in, and there Paige finds a position for herself as she gains one over Montgomery. Behind that, or excuse me, ahead of that though, we're looking at the front of the field where the pack has spread out a little bit. Ryan losing the slipstream, and oh goodness, Carvalho loops it round. Oh, that's Afrin Sheet, excuse me. Loops it round in one of the easiest corners to do so, and that is a BMW moment if I've ever seen one. One thing we haven't talked about, Jackson, these cars, they are extremely unresponsive, to put it lightly. And what do I mean by that? I mean that when you're driving these cars, it almost feels like nothing in terms of the wheel. You don't have much grip. You don't feel it under your hands as much as you do, for example, an MX-5. And as a result, these cars with so much horsepower, you start to lay on the power, and the car, it just decides to go around sometimes. It's not something that you can really feel. It's not something you can predict. It just happens, and that is exactly what we saw there. I think our producer, Thomas Bryant, made a fair share of that exact mistake during our Wednesday races.
A little bit of problems there, it looks like, for Prstaiewicz on the insider. Is that right? I'm not sure. But the Swede trying to hang on to the outside as Brooke goes down low into the first corner. But yeah, great shout there, Mike. Really short wheelbase on this car. and 370 horsepower. So when you chuck the car in and give it a little bit of right foot, it wants to rotate. The only problem is this thing is heavy, about 200 or 300 kilograms heavier than the GR86s and the MX5s we're so used to running in spec racing here on iRacing. So it's that little mental adjustment of counter steering a little bit more than you're used to dig the car out of a corner. But that little extra amount, combining it in a course this tight and technical, and with all that marbling on the outside, you see, it is genuinely Tokyo drifting in some cases here for these guys to keep these cars in one piece. But as the session goes on, it's been an active track here since practice. You can tell by all the marbles gathering up, but as these guys continue to run on the racing line, this Dunlop rubber going to continue to work into this race course, and that'll help kill the rotation a little bit as well. So make it easier. Oh, that's a big hit. Madeline O'Connell, I think, coming out of Piper Corner. You can see the smoke coming out of the front of the car as well. That'll be a meatball flag as well. The 297 going to have to re-rack and restack for race number 2. Geisler in third right now, dead even from where she started. But you look just a little bit further ahead here. Christina Ryan was looking really close to the front here, Mike. She might be able to make a move.
Yeah, she is. And on top of that, she's sort of pulled away from Katie Geisler, so now can look in her rearview mirror and not have to worry that much either. So Hoeflar also going to find some opportunities here. This, by the way, is that moment that we saw leading into it where unfortunately O'Connell ends up around, or McKenzie, excuse me, ends up round ahead of it. And this is going to be that exact same incident that we saw on a previous lap. You hit the accelerator, the car feels like it's planted, the weight shifts, and all of a sudden the car goes, and there is not a thing Madeline could have done about that, just unfortunately going a little slower in and a little easier on the power. But once that starts to happen, there is no stopping it, and the results there are obvious. Now, back to Katharina Geisler up at the front. Hoeflar losing the slipstream. We talked about that slipstream as well and how crucially important it is. Ryan has managed her way back into it. If Katie falls out of this, she's going to be in a world of hurt with Sophie Hoeflar, who is quite a bit quicker in the background. On the previous lap, by the way, about a 10th faster than we saw. So we'll see there. The advantage right now in my mind is for Hoeflar, but it's one thing to catch. It's certainly another thing to overtake, especially here at Okayama Short.
Really liking the handwork there of Geisler getting what we call kind of neutral steer, which is just kind of that maiden input of throwing the car into the corner, and then you pretty much just have the steering wheel dead even mid-corner. Maybe a little bit of counter steer at the end, obviously, to back it out. That 177 is dialed in by the Flying Scotsman, but as you can see right here, Ryan, Geisler, and Hoeflar are right there as well. And all these guys just trying to find a way to work their way to the front and be at the top of the pylon. But Sarah Dove, simply put, has been untouchable for round number 1. Ryan goes a little bit deep there, coming out of Mike Knight corner. That's exactly where we saw O'Connell go around earlier on, just dropping one tire in the grass and getting on the accelerator. That's how she swapped ends. But here we go, a little bit of a move here from Tassi as well, further back. Good recovery drive for her, and actually I'm not sure if it was netcode or if she actually took it down to pit lane to get that fixed, but she's got that 107 on the recovery and is trying to make a move on Barrington. Here we go, bumper to bumper down the front straightaway. Can she find the momentum to plant her way into the top 10? Not yet. And Mike, we talk about this being a prime overtaking opportunity. Piper could be as well here, just this long sweeping right-hander, but Tosi going very deep into the marbles. Is she able to hang on to it? Barely. Tosi continues to slave away and try and make a move on Barrington.
And that's basically the exact same thing that led her into this position as well, so she has to be so careful. This is that outside move as well that I was talking about earlier, where you just try to carry that momentum and get to the inside of the next right-hander. Unfortunately for Tosi, though, not close enough. Gonna have to live to fight another day. The one thing I like to see compared to her previous battle, though, is the patience that we have here from Tosi. She's being much more patient, not pulling the trigger when she knows she can't, and part of that as well is due to the fact, again, the tires, they're heating up. up, but B, there's pretty much I would even go as far as saying a dry line that is formed in this dry track, which is crazy to say. The marbles almost acting as a wet surface at certain points where you have only one real pathway to go through, and Tosi seemingly like to overtake in this next coming corner. It's just not really that possible. Look at how slippery it is as she puts her front tires on the marbles and immediately drops back.
She isn't trailing the brakes, Mike. You can tell how much the fronts are locking up, and she's stomping on it, which is great when you have ABS, but when you lean on it too much, you can see the front end just have no grip on corner entry. We'll have to see further back if Tosi has anything she can do to close that gap on Barrington and maybe make that move. We can say the same as well for Christina Ryan. You see the lap times on the left-hand side of your screen. There is nothing between these women within the top 4. All these drivers within about a 10.5 of one another. But again, it's a knife fight. None of them just able to find a way they can make that move just yet. What about Tosi, though? Into turn number 1, goes down low. Barrington trying to cover. Barrington going around into turn number 1 and tried so hard to defend. And after door-to-door contact, Barrington will watch that boulder roll back to the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, unfortunate there for Barrington, I would say. You know, at first glance, that's a very hard incident to call to stewards. We'll absolutely be having a look at that one after this race. By the way, the checkered for white flag is out. Sarah Dove is looking to take it here this lap. Here's a little replay, though, of that move as we get down to the inside. Fully alongside, and the car does move, in my opinion. They're under braking the 27, trying to cover it off just a little bit too hard. Checkered flag, though, is out. Sarah Dove takes the victory for race 1. Christina Ryan going to come home in second. Katie Geisler taking third, with Sophie Hooflar in fourth. Behind them is going to be the Scotsman as well of Kristinowska. And that following the line shortly there is going to be as well Jess Visser, Proto Savage behind Annalise Riot in 8th. Lucia Tosi manages a position there at the end. It was a very heartfelt position to gain, and fortunately for her, she makes it work into the top 10, or into the top 9, I should say, the single-digit paying positions, and behind that is going to be Barrington. Mackenzie taking home 11th. Carvalho, one of our content creators that we have joining us here in this race tonight, she is going to be taking home a P12 with 3 positions gained. Nicely done for her. Afrin Sheed behind in P13. Paige Kaufman going to come down 1 lap behind and with P14, unfortunately, due to that lap 1 incident. Madeline O'Connell in 15th. And last but certainly not least, Kristen Montgomery. What a race, Jackson. My goodness. We get a little bit of a teaser of what's to come in race 2, and strategy is the only thing in my mind that's going to be playing out and ringing in my ears very vigorously.
I think that first corner is turning less into a true overtaking opportunity. I think Piper Corner actually is where we're really going to see moves made here this time by, I think, Redmond, that right-left complex we see going up the hill as well. That could also definitely be a possibility. But case in point, it's hard to overtake. We've got a couple factors. We mentioned it before as well. This package, simply put, makes it difficult because of the power, because of the assists. But with all of the gravel out on track right now, it is going to be difficult, plain and simple, to make these moves stick. But we've already seen that level of experimentation. We saw definitely a lot from Christina Ryan. But that mad science, you get the feeling, is going to continue here into race number 2.
Yeah, I certainly hope the Sweet Streepers, they have the Street Sweepers. Got to put my teeth in before I speak. It turns out they have a lot of work to do ahead of them before this race. A lot of gravel to be pushed off the circuit. And what that means to me, Jackson, is that we're going to see some overtakes next race, but it's going to have to be early. They clearly, the drivers, I don't think anybody could have accounted for the amount of gravel that was going to come onto that surface by the end of this race. It was quite literally an ocean of gravel covering the half of the circuit. And with that, that means you're going to have to get your moves done quick before that grip goes away, before the tires start to fall off as well. So I suspect that at the start and within the first 5 laps, I think this is going to be an absolute knife fight in a phone booth heading into race 2.
Oh, for sure. And we never really got to talk about it because things started happening so fast. But Sarah Dove did a phenomenal job at the start. Basically got the drop as soon as she was able to. And, I mean, you saw how much others were suffering. Pretty much Tosi getting eat up immediately by the remainder of the pack. Weiser dropped back, I believe, 3 or 4 positions as well, and just wasn't able to make those spots back. But you look, in the mid-pack right now, Christina Ryan, 3 spots up, was able to not just stay with the leader, but defend from Geisler further behind, from Hofelar as well. I think for a lot of these guys, as you mentioned, Mike, you got to set the tone early. If you have pace and you believe that you've got a fast race car, you got to show it as soon as that green flag drops.
Yeah, and that's obviously going to be a bit risky as well. We saw the contact that ensued on lap 1, a lot of drivers getting pinched, and a lot of drivers having some strife that they ran into early, and again, just maybe a little over-aggression, lack of grip, you name it. But here we go, folks. This is your results for race 1 as it stands. Sarah Dove takes home the victory at the top by 0.7 of a second ahead of Christina Ryan. Christina Ryan taking home second ahead of Katharina Geisler, with Sophie Huflar coming into P4. Olivia going to be bringing home 5th position. Krissa Nauska in P5, Jess Vesser in P6. Brooke Protasavage coming home in 7th with Annalise Riot in 8th. Lucia Tosi 9th with Alexis Barrington in P10. Alyssa McKenzie 11th position with Carly Carvalho in P12. Afrin Sheed coming home in 13th with Paige Kaufman behind in 14th for Camber and Castor. Madeline O'Connell in P15 with Kristen Montgomery rounding out the back in P16. A lot of work for some of these drivers, Jackson. Lucia Tosi's name sticks out to me in particular. In my mind, she was one of the favorites coming in here. I kind of had the pin down top 3 for me coming into this after from what I've seen from our Wednesday practice sessions was Sophie being one of the quickest along with Jess. They were pretty much equal on pace. And then later in the session for the American time zone that we had, Lucia Tosi was lapping a little bit faster even than Jess was at certain times. So I was expecting those 3 names kind of to come out and be the stars of the show, which 2 out of 3 were, but Lucia Tosi, unfortunately, again, getting caught up in some dramas early on.
I think she knew that the pace was there. It's just, the frustration came out early on, just trying to make those moves, got caught up both in incidents that were out of her factors or out of her control, and then just plain lost it on her own as well. But again, the great thing about this second race, you get an opportunity to hit the reset button and try again. And that doesn't just go for Tosi, but Madeline O'Connell, Alexis Barrington, a lot of these guys who got caught up in early incidents get one more try to try and work their way a little bit further up in the field. And talking about a couple of big names as well, it really felt like it was Sarah Dove and our 2 Germans, Kathy Geisler as well as Jess Weiser, who were the 2 really, really strong ones at Olton Park. Jess Weiser, I still think, is trying to find a little bit of pace this weekend, but is currently sharing notes. I can guarantee to you with Cassie. So we'll see if they're doing any kind of teamwork right now, sharing any notes, sharing anything in setups or lines, if they'll be able to work forward together here for race 2.
Yeah, of course, Katharina and Jess being partners as well, so we love to see both of them out in the race, sharing the track together, sharing their notes, as you said, and also having a great time all together. Don't want to get into contact with each other, it'd make a little awkward conversation at the dinner table later, but I'm sure they'll both be able to laugh it off. Before we get into this next race, though, we would like to thank, of course, everybody that makes these events possible, starting off with, of course, Gadget on screen. Yes, you guessed it. That is, in fact, Regadget for the website, regadget.com. Head on over there if you have an extra PC laying around. If you want a PC and maybe can't afford one necessarily, check them out. They have some incredible deals. Regadget gives old technology a second life, securely refurbishing devices, reducing e-waste, and helping them close the digital divide by getting tech into the hands of people that won't. They securely refurbish technology as well as cutting down e-waste and affordable devices to help communities and kids who otherwise wouldn't have access, i.e. your libraries, i.e. schools, and so on and so forth, as well as some maybe misfortunate families that don't have the opportunity to afford a computer. Regadget's going to be one to help out, and if you have a PC that's laying around, you could help a family out as well. They cover shipping, they cover everything to get the PC sent off to Regadget. It's much better than creating e-waste and, again, throwing away what is going to be potentially something that could be used in the future for somebody else. On top of that, we of course would like to thank eClutch as well. That is one of our main partners that we have. We're live over in the MENA region over on eClutch.com. TV. We also are live on Roku. Yes, hello, Esports Edge. We are live on, you can search up Esports Edge on Roku to find that, and we thank everybody over there that makes this possible. On top of that, of course, iRacing being the platform that we are racing on here today. It's a amazing one. If you have not checked it out already, there's some great deals involved on getting involved. It is the top of the line simulator that you can have, and pretty much what everybody these days is on. Also, I wanted to mention a couple other things that we have going on here at Init Esports. We have a team going on. Yes, the Init Esports team. This is going to be for all of the massive iRacing events that go on. You can be a part of our team by scanning that QR code on your screen and signing up. We're looking for both male and female participants for the team, men and women alike, to get involved, get out on track, and then get some events under their belt. And if that's something that interests you, again, this being in the Init Esports community, scan that QR code and you can get involved there. On top of that as well, yes, there's more, I know. We are branching out to other simulators, or in this case, maybe not a simulator, but other platforms as well. Init Esports heads over to Trackmania, and if that's something that interests you, get out on circuit with the EA platform. Of course, we have a league that we have hosted up. You can join right now. Scan that QR code for more information on our website. You certainly don't want to miss it. We're going to be having a lot of fun with Trackmania and getting set up for some very big competitions potentially in the future as well. So if that's something that interests you, you definitely do not want to miss it. It's going to be a great time all the way around. Now though, Jackson, as we have a little more time here as well to go for, we have, of course, the starting lineup for the next race. And yes, you guessed it, it is the results of the previous. Sarah Dove is going to start us off at the top with Christina Ryan alongside a similar prospect. Let's see if the results can change. Katie Geisler coming home in third with Sophie Hufflar in fourth. Olivia down in fifth for Scotland with Jess Vesser in P6. Brooke Prota-Savage in P7 with Annalise Riot coming home in 8th. Lucia Tosi, a hard-fought 9th position and a lot of work to do for her. Alexis Barrington coming home in 10th and rounding out your top 10 here for today. Alyssa McKenzie in 11th with Carly Carvalho coming home in 12th. Afrin Sheed in P13 alongside Paige Kaufman in P14 for Camber and Castor. Madeline O'Connell coming home in 15th, and last but certainly not least on the grid again is going to be Kristen Montgomery. A recovery drive for some, Jackson, and a solid start for others. How do we expect this to shake up? I know we've talked about it briefly, but what do these drivers need to do to get the edge over the rest? What does Christina Ryan need to do to best Sarah Dove?
Get the drop on the start and essentially white line it for the remainder of the race. No, do as much as you can to get out in front early, make the most of that first, 1 or 2 laps. Primarily that run into Piper Corner, and if you're able to make the most out of it, just continue to try and make the most out of any clean air you can find. We talked a little bit earlier about the dirty air, but especially once you get past Piper into that tight and twisty section of Redmond and Hobbs, you need to really find anywhere you can maximize your downforce. But after that, I mean, we saw it earlier with Ryan, right? Just find ways that you can maybe make a move around if you have a driver in front. Hopefully should have a little bit less gravel on the track here for race number 2. That'll make things a little bit more interesting as well and make things a little bit easier, but just continuing to make things a little bit more possible, whether it's on the inside or outside. We've seen it a handful of directions and a handful of corners, but just continue to experiment and try and see if something sticks.
Yeah, and actually I'm getting word in my ear from our producer, Tom Bryant, that the track sweepers have not been doing their jobs here today. So there is not going to be any sweeping done. Actually, the track condition is going to transition over in the state that it was previously. So yes, they have an outlap that cleared a little bit of that gravel, but there's going to be an ocean on top of an ocean by the end of this, essentially. Here we go, though, folks. This is going to be race 2 of Screen to Speed Event 2. Here as we get ready to get underway. Okayama short here for the BMW M2s at Init Esports. This is the Screen to Speed Championship. And we get ready to go green one more time. It's 2x2 Noah's Ark formation up at the front and the back, and we are green, green, green running, and immediately Sarah Dove with an amazing start at the front. Behind that, we see a little bit of nip and tuck action and side-by-side from Geisler and Hooflar. Behind that, a little bit of contact there as Tosi is going to be trying to make some ground up. I think she got clipped at the apex. That's going to force her back the positions that she did make up. Still side-by-side as it looks like that's going to be a little bit of contact up ahead for what looks to be Brooke Proto Savage, as well as Olivia having a little bit of a ding-dong bout, and we are 3 wide down the back straight. A bit of contact in the background for O'Connell. Down into the fifth braking zone, though, Lucia Tosi gaining a position over Barrington, and very nicely done. Lap 1 already complete, Jackson, or just about, and we have side-by-side throughout the entirety of this. I think our predictions maybe reign true.
Look at Riot here on the inside, losing that spot to Mackenzie, just ahead there. As the battle in the mid-pack as well starting to develop. Good start, though, from Christina Ryan. Not able to make the move on Sarah Dove, but knew it immediately. Covered down low right here into turn number 1. And you look as well, I was trying to say at the race start, you got to look out as well. Sophie Hofelar, the Dragon of Wales, able to make that move on Christina Geisler for P3. She's on the hunt. So too is Lucia Tosi, up 2 from the race start, making moves on Prostowitz and Barrington. She's trying to make way to that battle further back. Krzyzanowska and Wesser just going at it a little bit further up. And no matter where you look, Mike, the fangs have come out, the gloves have come out, or the gloves have come off. We've got battles no matter where you look on track right now.
Yeah, Lucia Tosi is hungry like a wolf, looking to sink all 4 of the canines here into Olivia as she can find the back here very shortly. The longer that Jess and Olivia battle, the more difficult things are going to get. This here is going to be a potential move on to Jess Visser. No, not on this occasion. Turn 1, not really being the overtaking zone that we thought it would be, to be honest. Turn 5 being where a good heap of the action is, as well as turn 3 here coming up, kind of a double apex corner where you can make moves stick if you are bold enough. And well, there we go. On cue, it looks like Barrington getting overtaken by Riot. Ahead of them, Mackenzie with 2 positions gained. Hooflar still in the background of Ryan. No changes for our top 2, but the rest of the field, Jackson, has a shaken but not stirred.
Hoffman just behind, tried to go with Barrington, but you can see that driver in P11 just able to patch it up for the time being. You can already see how much these guys are maximizing the track limits on exit, using all of that green painted runoff coming out of the last corner, trying to carry as much momentum onto this long half-a-mile front straightaway into turn number 1. Fastest lap for Sarah Dove out in front, 57.235. Of course, the minute I say that, actually give the purple lap to Lucia Tosi, the 107. More than a tenth quicker than your top 4 females out in front, but Tosi has 2 in front. Krzyzanowska and Weiser have found that cop car painted 107. And can Tosi, the big question, be able to make those moves that she was not able to in race number 1? Krzyzanowska thinks so. You can see her covering down low here, down Redmond as we go up the hill. This will actually give Tosi an opportunity to maybe go around the outside or cross them up. You can see her trying to get that late apex, maximize that exit speed on the last corner. Not able to get it done just yet, but if there's any point she's going to be able to do it, it'll be right here coming out of the final corner. If Krzyzanowska can make a mistake and not get the same level of exit speed rolled as the Costa Rican just behind. Here we go. That driver in P7 just tucked behind. The 899 still not able to get there. But you look a little bit further back, Alexis Barrington, I mentioned earlier, able to defend for the time being for P11. Now is trying to make that move back on Riot.
A lot of work to do, though, here, and she's thinking about it. She's thinking about it, and she has firmly thought about it. Barrington alongside Riot now at the apex. I don't think it's going to work out on this occasion, but heck, prove me wrong, why don't you? Alexis full send baseball and makes the move stick, almost like zero effort. That was absolutely incredible. Alexis Barrington, I don't even have an analogy for that. That happened so quickly. Now Paige Kaufman slipping into the background as she continues the battle with Riot up ahead. Now Riot needs to get things under control and very, very quick. We also see Lucia Tosi again closing. Oh, but not right now though, as immediately Paige has a front row seat here of this battle, and I sneakingly suspect that she's about to get maybe a triple overtake as Barrington is round into the wall. The momentum in the favor for the Camber and Caster machine. Does she have the ability to get by? No, unfortunately not, because Annalise Riot is blocking her move down to the inside. It doesn't matter though, she gets alongside, but no, she loses it. Paige had every opportunity, must have clipped some gravel, and with just slightly too much right foot, ends up losing it, and that is battle done for Kaufman.
We missed it as well. Olivia Krzyzanowska losing that spot to Lucia Tosi for P6. Where did that move happen? But the 107 has moved on up now to P6. As that phenomenal battle was developing further back, easily one of the best moves we've seen all day from Alexis Barrington. Let's watch that move again here. Jams it up the inside of Piper Corner. Look at all the marbles on the inside, and she's got to carry that momentum through the marbles, through the low grip, and isn't just able to find it, stay alongside, but get the exit and move her way up to the front. One of the best battles we have seen all day long, as Lucia Tosi now has found the rear of Jess Weiser. Yellow flag out further ahead. What's happened to Christina Ryan as well? Has she made a mistake? Has she slowed down? She's gone off track. That'll give no pressure to Sarah Dove, and now give Hofelar an opportunity to go on through. Inside of Hobbs Corner, working up the hill, little bit more grip on the inside. That's where the camber is, as another big stack up further back. Mackenzie, no, she's found Alexis Barrington. Oh my goodness, what on earth has happened there? Hofelar able to go through. She's up into P2, and we are struggling to find any kind of meaning here, because no matter where we look, there is chaos, carnage, and action happening.
Oh, but Sophie's not out of the woods just yet. Immediately, Christina Ryan throws her car back down to the inside, trying to capitalize on the fact that she still has the fight. Manages the inside as well for turn 2 and turn 3. This is going to turn to the outside, though, an advantage for Sophie. Can she work her way outside now? She leaves the room all of the time. You have to leave it a space. A wise man once said that, and we see Hoefler and Ryan both contending to do so. Now, if I'm Geisler, exactly this is what I'm thinking. How do I get my car involved? How can I get a position out of these two scrapping? And she sits back now and just waits and watches. That's exactly what she needs to do. Wait for something to come, for a mistake to happen, as now Christina Ryan potentially a little bit deep there through the final corner. We'll see if that comes out of anything. This, by the way, is what happened to Barrington, as we had that contact earlier, and unfortunately that is just a bridge too far of a move and no room to be found. The car on the outside, really not expecting a car to be on their inside at that point, and the rest is history. On that though, we get back to the front battle here, Jackson. These top three, well, I should say the Sarah Dove kind of disappeared off into the Japanese sunset and is already kind of sniffing the Japanese sakuras and the cherry blossoms that are blooming this time of year. But Sophie, though, still with a long race ahead of her, with Ryan, Geisler, and potentially Vesser in the background.
Yeah, Sarah Dove definitely thrilled to see all of that action unfolding behind her, because look at that gap now, over 2.8 seconds between them. But look at who's worked their way back into the mix. Lucia Tosi just making a move there on Jess Weiser, and is certainly on the scene if she's able to find that pace she has had this entire weekend, because Geisler and Ryan are not too far up the road. That's another position now, on track move for Tosi. She's up 4 positions. Hofelar up 2. Actually, with the clean air for Hofelar, we've got about 6 minutes on the clock. Could potentially Hofelar break away. Not if Christina Ryan has anything to say about it. She's already putting the pressure on. But we know this, Mike, if these two continue to battle for P2, not only is that going to continue to build that cushion from Dove to the remainder of the field, but you've got Geisler, Tosi, and Weiser just behind, waiting to pounce.
Yeah, Tosi is kind of the one that I'm keeping my eye on right now because she is driving like an animal currently. She has 4 positions gained at this stage, and every single one of them was not a easy pass. She had to work for every move she's had so far, and doing such an incredible job to claw her way back up the field. And look at that. She's already 1 second to the back. It was nearly a 10th gained on this lap. And when I would say these guys or these gals all come together on this straight, I would imagine that as you said earlier, Jackson, the gloves are going to start to come off because Ryan gaining onto Hooflar, we've already know that is a battle that could brew up at any point in time. Ryan wants that position back more than anything at this stage, and it's just going to have to find the opportunity. Sophie, not really one to make a mistake too often, to be completely honest, so Ryan has her work cut out.
Yeah, Mike, 5 minutes on the clock here, and at this point, it's just tension building, because at what point is Ryan and Geisler going to run out of patience in these guys trying to close that gap? They know it's building right now. Sarah Dove now over 3 seconds to the remainder of the field. Is Christina Ryan going to be able to close that gap? Hoefler overdriving in the final 2 corners is still making that a possibility. But at what point does the camaraderie get thrown out the window? When does Geisler and Tosi get the opportunity further back to make moves? They're running out of time, running out of opportunities. You've got Ryan just behind, who's continued to study the back of that 714. And I'll tell you what, at the very latest, when we've got 60 seconds on the clock, Ryan is absolutely going to be putting that pressure on. It could be sooner, though. You see her going so shallow there into Piper Corner on exit. This could be a battle unfolding way sooner than we thought. I think Christina Ryan might already know that P1 is not a possibility this weekend, and she wants to maximize her output. You're on the rear bumper now of Hoeflar, one of your biggest movers of the race. 2 positions gained from the start. And Christina Ryan trying to go back-to-back. P2 is going to try and go down low. Out of the last corner, you see Hoeflar just missing the apex, not running the curbing on the inside. That's maximized the straight line speed, though. You can see that gap actually, Mike, start to build in the braking zone. But here we go, little bit of ambition there from Christina Ryan, trying to make that move into turn number 1. Can't make it just yet.
No, not just at this occasion. And by the way, a little bit of context on some of these drivers. Sarah Dove, by the way, a previous Dream Team driver. So for Init Esports, of course, that was our team last year that we had our all-women's roster. We do still have that, by the way. It just has also been added onto with the Init team, which we now have drivers, of course, being Sarah Dove, Sophie Hoeflar, as well as Geisler and Vesser, all involved in our Init team. So if that's something that interests you, you can scan that QR code down in the bottom right and get involved. What that means is they know how to race each other. One driver that's not in that equation is Christina Ryan. She has not been a part of these teams, and to my knowledge is primarily an oval racer from everything that I've seen from her. So being able to see her go out onto a track like this, a short circuit that maybe not many people have driven, the reason that we pick these tracks is because they're new. It kind of shortens the playing field for drivers and makes it so everybody has something new that they're trying. And Ryan able to adapt to a BMW M2 on this circuit, which couldn't be further from an oval as far as I'm concerned. This is absolutely incredible to see her adapt like that. And now also, Jackson, look at this, we got blue flags involved, causing a little bit of chaos.
Yeah, O'Connell, I told you that could have been a factor. But look at this, you've got Geisler and Tosi right in the mix. Geisler trying to make a move on the inside, working up the hill of Redmond Corner. And you can throw a blanket over all 4 of these drivers. More blue flag traffic. I believe that's Barrington, who actually goes into the grass to allow all these guys through. But this has been a phenomenal battle here from P2 on back to P5, as pretty much four females all in contention right now for the podium. But yeah, definitely a little bit of a venture for Christina Ryan, a little bit of open wheel experience, I think, doing some stuff with super formulas, but it's definitely more used to doing stuff in the NASCAR Cup Series, as well as doing a couple of IndyCar racing as well. But I think this feels a little bit more close to home for her than the Formula V's. She's definitely shown the pace here, as here we go, trying to cross it up onto Hoeflar. She's defended down low, but that gap might be open. Here she goes to the outside. Hoeflar trying to defend, making that M2, the blue car, out in front as wide as possible. Tosi trying to go around the outside as well. Wesser covering down low, and now here's the dive all the way down to the curbing, makes contact, and Hoeflar goes around. Wesser goes around. Ryan goes through, and the powder keg at the front has exploded.
Dramas on the penultimate lap as we are going to have the white flag waving more than likely on this occasion, and the results have shaken up more than anything. Katie Geisler down to 8th position now. We see, where did Sophie end up? 6th position for Sophie. Here, by the way, is a replay of Geisler's perspective. She was almost an innocent victim, it seemed like, getting caught up in it. Let's see as we go to the outside. There is almost nowhere for her to go. She saw the gap, the promise, the hope of gaining that 2nd position was there in Katie's eyes, but unfortunately she got clattered into the side panel through no fault of her own there. Oh, Katie Ryan a little bit loose there as Tosi from down below started in P8 this race, has managed to climb her way up the gauntlet that is this screen to speed race, and Tosi up almost into the podium positions now. Her only real variables are going to be Vesser and Olivia, but at the end now, Sarah Dove coming across the final corner and to take the checkered flag, who takes victory in race 1 and now takes victory in race 2 and is going to be your winner here tonight for screen to speed. Sarah Dove take a bow behind Jess Vesser. A lovely P2 finish, avoids the chaos and carnage of the previous lap to manage a 2nd place. Behind that, in 3rd, a very hard fought effort for Olivia Krzyzanowska, as well as she finds her way up to the bottom step of the podium in race 2, and Lucia Tosi, a heart of a lion throughout this race, manages to finish in 4th despite every variable being against her. Behind that, Ryan takes 5th, Hooflar takes 6th, Geisler in 7th, Annalise Riot taking 8th, Kaufman in 9th, and as we see Carvalho coming around the final corner now and to take the checkered flag, she will be finishing in the top 10 as well. A brilliant result here for race 2. Brooke Proto Savage behind in 11th. In 12th, we have Afrin Sheed, 13th to Kristen Montgomery, 14th to Alexis Barrington, 15th to Alyssa McKenzie, and rounding out the back, unfortunately, Madeline O'Connell after getting caught up in that contact. Now, well, where do we go from here, Jackson, as we have a lot to break down over the course of 2 laps?
Yeah, man, Christina Ryan really being the first domino there. I think just getting a little bit over ambitious in the final corners. You saw it just trying to make that gap down low, and unfortunately that is what got Hofela around, and Geisler just, again, as you mentioned, Mike, saw the gap and just was not able to get there in time. But that, again, gives everybody in front of them kind of the benefit of the doubt. Jess Wesser able to work their way up into P2. Olivia Krzyzanowska, man, absolute dark horse this entire weekend. Have not talked about her at all, but the 899, the Flying Scotsman, gets up into P3, and Lucia Tosi up 5 positions as well, and moves that I think she was probably going to be able to make as well. But man, these ladies giving us some phenomenal battles no matter where you look, Mike, for race number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Olivia as well, driving for Phoenix Sim Racing. We saw them in one of the YouTube chats earlier, so a big shout out to them. And they'll be very, very happy with her result as she got into the bottom step of the podium there in race 2. It wasn't because of, the easiest moves, that's for sure. It was avoiding a big parking lot, pretty much, that happened on the penultimate corner there in the penultimate lap. A story that could be told for a lot. And to be fair, the newsletter is going to have quite a dramatic story told in it as well. But as we get ready here to get down to it, we are, by the way, going to hear from some of our drivers, so do not go anywhere. We will be hearing interviews from them in a little bit. But my goodness, again, coming into this one, let's break down race 1 a little bit, as that was kind of, I think, a little more simple race for all. It was the feelers being thrown out. We saw a lot of moves attempting to be made, but none really committed to. A lot of drivers seeing where they can overtake, where they can't overtake, and then the gravel really playing a role. To be honest, Jackson, I almost completely forgot about the gravel in race 2, despite the fact that it was worse.
Yeah, a lot of people, I think, just deciding to kind of muscle through it regardless of the disadvantage. And you know what? I really didn't think it worked. I mean, you saw Ryan able to defend on the outside. You saw some great moves early on. Alexis Barrington, not the result she wanted, but man, move of the race, I think, along the outside there. Prstayowicz and Afrin Sheed, that was such a great battle just on that bubble for the top 10. But yeah, I think, again, you don't have that much grip, but on corner entry, I think these ladies realize if you just pin the throttle, the car's going to rotate regardless. So just finding ways to muscle through it and work their way around some really creative driving. But all of that behind, you gotta give it to Sarah Dove, though. Uncontested flag to flag for both races. Our first sweep for the Screen to Speed series this year. Some dominant driving from the 177.
Yeah, Sarah's not a slouch by any step. She actually had the highest I rating out of anybody in this lobby. Now, obviously, I rating is not necessarily the best metric of talent. We have some very low I rating drivers that are extremely talented and some very high I rating drivers that are not necessarily. It's just a number of how often you drive, how much you put into the game, and how well you can make it to the flag. And really, Sarah Dove proving that tonight that she does deserve that highest I rating spot. She absolutely drove pretty much pixel perfect the entirety. I don't think we saw one mistake. I mean, granted, we didn't see her that much because she was, well, just that far ahead pretty much. But even still, she never had that gap closed down. We never saw any real stress from Sarah. I think for the most part, she kind of just had her helmet on, visor down, and just plugged on throughout the entirety of this session. Kind of as you mentioned, I mean, Jess Visser as well being one in there. Kind of one of my favorites personally heading into this race. Race 1 maybe didn't have the best result, but race 2, you can call it lucky, you can call it skill, you can call it whatever you would like. She finished P2. A very solid result there, and that's going to help her out massively in the overall results as we get down to the finals.
I think as well, it's just staying out of trouble. That's how Krzyzanowska, I think, was able to work her way up into the podium as well. Picking your battles and knowing when is a good time to overtake and when's a good time to just stay in the tracks of the car in front of you. You saw that as well with Tosi, was choosing the right time when to strike, knowing when the gap was there, and then realizing, hey, the benefits are not outweighing the potential disadvantages of me making these moves. So at a track like this where overtaking is at such a premium and you really are rolling the dice to go offline, we saw it work for some people. It really was working for Christina Ryan up until the last couple laps. Same could be said for Alexis Barrington, who got, again, DNF for some things that looked like maybe out of her control. But knowing when to kind of make those moves and when to stay back and kind of continue to wait, that is the difference right now between a really good driver and a really, really great top I rating driver.
No, absolutely. And to be fair, I think Lucia Tosi kind of learned that from race 1, where she made some moves in some spots that maybe weren't the best for her. She thought she knew it, she had that planned. The gravel completely threw a monkey wrench into the equation, and I don't think she had that into her mind. In race 2, though, she didn't forget about that. Every single overtake was definitive, it was perfect, and really throughout no contact of the entire race, just slowly climbed her way up the field throughout the entirety of it until eventually finishing just out of the bottom step of the podium in P4. Probably one of the better drives out here in Screen to Speed this year, I would say. So hats off to Lucia Tosi for doing such an incredible job. Another driver I wanted to touch on was Paige Kaufman. She managed to finish in P9 in race 2, and to be fair to her, she had some really good opportunities for some overtakes heading in. It was just that first corner that kind of caught her out. She got down to the inside, had the switchback, almost managed to get 3 cars in one corner for an overtake, but unfortunately a little bit too much right foot was the story, and the round she went and finished in 9th position, which is still nothing to shake a stick at the end of the day. 5 positions gained after the race 1 contact that she had, unfortunately. So a great finish nonetheless for the Camber and Caster team, and it's one that she can definitely be proud of.
Yeah, for sure. And I think for a lot of these guys, it's just lessons to take away from, as again, that's kind of the point of Screen to Speed, right? Coming in and giving female drivers in iRacing opportunities to come out and show your pace, or if not, come out and give yourself some learning experiences. Would love to see that schedule one more time, because again, we haven't really touched on it, but the opportunity for Screen to Speed, all about free tracks and free cars. Let's take a look one more time here and get you set up here for our next round on deck as well. Scuba Circuit and the Toyota GR86s. That's going to be really, really fun, Mike. You get a little bit lighter cars, a little bit less power as well, but kind of the spec racing we've been used to here for the better part of a decade on this platform. But you look at this, we'll jump back in the open wheelers in May, go to VIR, Snetterton, and some more spec cup racing. That'll be a really fun combo at Snetterton Circuit as well. And then we'll end the first half of the year July 19th, Oran Park Raceway, and some more open wheelers. That'll be the Formula Fords, the 1600s. So a good mix of spec racers as well as some open wheelers. And again, all of that free content in at esports.gg for more. But Mike, we're starting to get set here with your podiums as your final winners here. Race number 1 starting to come together.
Yeah, and by the way, it was close when it comes to the bottom step of the podium. All of the drama shook things up immensely. So P1, undisputably, was Sarah Dove. I don't think anybody is going to debate that one. She won both races without any issue. That's we've got that one sealed in the books. Second place is going to be Christina Ryan, and third place is going to be Jess Visser on a countback over Olivia. So just beaten out at the end, unfortunately. Olivia still, again, with one of the best drives that we saw in race 2, but unfortunately for Krydanowska, she just got beaten out because of the previous results in race 2. So it was down to the wire, Jackson, but at the end of it, it's going to be Visser who manages your P3.
Again, just smart driving being rewarded there for the German. But Sarah Dove, that is a huge shot across the bow for the remainder of this field. Definitely going to be a driver for the remainder of this field to look out for. And again, someone who's been a part of our program here for the better part of a year. She was really, really strong today. Our first one, as we mentioned as well, to get wins in both races. And we'll see if she's able to continue that. Again, she's had a couple of sessions, couple of races in the M2. But we're going back to the GR86, one of the newest cars on the platform. And then we move back over to the open wheelers. That was so strong with Weiser and Gessler as well. Hopefully, though, one of your winners as well from that opening weekend at Olton Park. So again, just because we saw this domination from Sarah Dove today, it could be anyone's game here in a month's time.
Yeah, Jess being one of the favorites for certain when it comes to your Formula Championship. And by the way, if you do want to get involved with that in any one of these races, as Jackson said, this is all free content and we host one a month, and it's a great opportunity to get the women out on track and racing together, and as well as building a great community in Discord as well. We have a safe space in Discord for everybody to join, and if that's something that interests you, again, you can head on over to inesports.gg/carsim, or you can look down in the description as well, depending on what platform that you're on, and you can find the links there. On top of that, I think we have a QR code that will pop up here in a little bit. Currently, though, just getting some of the drivers all wrangled up here for the interview, so we get to hear from all three of our drivers out here tonight. So it will be exciting to hear how it goes. I'm very curious to hear from Sarah and how she managed to get on with this race when it comes to the fact that she didn't see anything happen, but every lap that she came around, there was more gravel, and then more gravel, and then more gravel, and then it continued to evolve as it went on. So I'm interested to hear how that went, but also, of course, from Christina Ryan and the dramas that ensued there and get into the headspace of that. But again, for anyone that is interested, you can head on over to our website, inesports.gg/carsim. That's where you can find all of our signups for both Team America and Screen to Speed. And again, our new Trackmania championship. And then on top of that, of course, our to come championships that we have. Maybe some NASCAR in the future, hint, hint. We'll find out. And almost certainly so is what I would say. But Jackson, as we get ready here to interview some of these drivers, I think as well we haven't talked too much about the M2s, or rather the Vs. Why don't we move on for the next one here and talk about the Formula Vs, a open-wheeled car, not much power, not much downforce, and tremendously momentum-based. This is going to be an interesting one. Those are always a fun car to see out there.
Yeah, for sure. Very much part of that kind of double update for the Club Racer open wheelers. I know a lot of people kind of refer it to as the Formula 5, right? No wings, no downforce, all mechanical grip. But the slowest of the two, actually, again, the V being the fact that it's pulling a flat 4 from a Volkswagen Beetle. Some of the most cheap open wheel racing you can get out there. I know we see him a lot out here in Buttonwillow and Willow Springs. Mike, a little bit more at PIR and some other circuits a little bit closer to you on the West Coast. But case in point, fan favorite for the SCCA racers, and all about cheap, accessible racing, and a really good place to start the open wheel career. I think actually we're going over to the GR86s at Tsukuba though next weekend, and I've been meaning to do this comparison all week long, by the way, because it is a vast difference jumping from this car and going into a GR86, because you look at, if you could compare these as two different tools, you've got essentially a German sledgehammer, right? Just sheer raw power and comfort and just doing everything to muscle through. You get to the GR86, it is all about precision, making the most with the least you have, right? you've got a turbocharged inline 6 versus a naturally aspirated inline 4. About 244 horsepower in the GR86 compared to the well north of 330 we've got in these M2 CSs. Way more power to work with, but you can make the argument that the GR86 rewards good driving and carrying momentum just a smidge more here, but certainly a very big pivot here. And again, I think what made this race interesting is so many of these drivers not necessarily used to driving the M2, but always fun to kind of bust that out as well, Mike.
Yeah, indeed. It's going to be a very exciting one as we get ready here. But I'm hearing in my ear that we have our interviews ready to go. And up first is going to be Christina Ryan, our P2 finisher here overall. Christina, first off, how's it going? Second off, what a drive here today. Both race 1 and race 2 certainly full of dramas and events.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel good. I didn't think I'd have podium pace, so I'm pretty stoked about that. But unfortunately, we all got tangled up in melees at the end there, but put 4 cars under a blanket and everybody getting stacked up. I think it was inevitable. But the racing was really fun up until then, and I had a blast. The last screen to speed, I disconnected and had all kinds of issues trying to just stay on the track. So to be able to not only do that, but score a podium in the top 5, super good.
Let's talk about the gravel. That's one thing that I don't think anybody necessarily had predicted there was going to be so much of in both race 1 and in race 2. How did that play a role? As obviously you and Sophie were tied up pretty much the entirety of both races, and overtaking almost became, I would say, a luxury. I'd say that it was almost impossible at some points, it looked like.
Well, yeah, I mean, you kind of force the issue. You're a race car driver. If you can't overtake, conventionally, I feel like you kind of just force it to happen. So, I don't know, it almost made it a little more opportunistic because I think Sophie was struggling a lot with the gravel. I saw her sliding around and losing grip and going a little deep into corners. And obviously, since she's the first one to go through all that, it kind of knocked some of it out of the way for me. So in the second race, I didn't really have a problem with the gravel at all. The first race, when we were, playing cat and mouse and I was trying to chase Sarah down, that's where I think it definitely had an effect because it's just different track conditions every single time you get to that corner. Fortunately, I do a lot of wet weather racing, so I'm ready for the corner to feel different every single time. But it's never a racer's dream when you get in there and you don't know what you're going to expect. So have to drive a little conservative and hope you don't wreck.
Yeah, and that's actually, it's interesting that you brought that up because that's kind of the comparison that we made in the race as well, as there was almost a dry line forming, it seemed, through the sea of marbles that was on the track. So I like to hear that. Now, Christina, as we get ready to move on here from these interviews, is there anybody that you would like to thank for your P2 finish here tonight?
There's too many to name. I mean, there's so many people that support me through all the years and doing all this. It's great to come back and see all my friends at Screen to Speed as well. It's been a minute since I've raced in this group, but yeah, shout out to every single one of you that are watching and support me every week and follow me on all the socials and stay in my corner when we finish 23rd. So when we finish 3rd and, finish 5th, it's a really good day. So thanks to you guys for putting it on. Shout out to everybody at In It and Screen to Speed, and congrats to Sarah on the double wins. We've raced for a couple years now. I'm super stoked for her. It was great to see her win.
And now, Christina, you mentioned your socials. Since you mentioned them, why don't you go ahead and tell the people and folks at home where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty much AMR_Chrissy. So like Aston Martin Racing, I'm not affiliated, but AMR_KRISSY on like everything, like Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, all that good stuff. So yeah, if you want to follow me there and support me, especially that there are girls that are racing, I love seeing everybody post, and it's how I remember that these races are coming up. I'm not gonna lie to you, but yeah.
No, that's amazing. Everybody, Christina Ryan, go give her a follow. And on top of that, of course, Chrissy, enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the champagne from that P2 finish. Congratulations.
I can't drink yet. I got another race tonight, but yeah.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Got to get the double champagne.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Have a great night. Now, that's going to be our P2 finisher here for the Screen to Speed event 2. And Jackson, I think, has had time to catch up with other competitors here. We'll get into that here very, very shortly. But what a very cheery interview there at the end. I love to hear that from Christina.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've seen her a handful of times, and obviously has done a lot of sports car stuff. I think we saw maybe a little bit slower of a start to her season back at Alton Park, but I think, you know, the extent of her open wheel has been maybe a little bit of IndyCar stuff and a smidge of Super Formula. But definitely, I think her bread and butter is if the car is heavier, I think she's comfier. So that's why we're definitely seeing her kind of thrive here. But going to be definitely good to see her, and hopefully she'll be able to come back. But let us finally continue here. P2 for Jess Weiser. Phenomenal drive for you, my friend. Talk to me about that. You know, back and forth up in front, and maybe a race 2 result that you didn't expect.
No, definitely not. It was really tough race and unsuspected in the last lap, so yeah, just luck to be in this position. And yeah, a really great drive by all the others, so yeah, just luck.
We were
at the
talking.
end.
We were talking all day long about how much the marbles had kind of collected on track. Christina just kind of gave us a good recount of how difficult it was to be offline. But is there anything you could share with us about you driving offline and just how low the grip was out there?
Yeah, it was really tough, and yeah, a lot of dirt on the track, and yeah, it was hard to stay there and keep focus. Yeah.
Second screen to speed podium for you so far this year. Who do you want to thank this time by for getting it done?
I thank Kati most, but she did deserve it today actually more, because yeah, she had a better pace, and yeah, and a little bit unlucky in the last lap.
Been some really good consistency for you to get the year started. Congratulations, Jessica.
Thank you.
There you go, P2, Jessica Weiser. Really good. And again, not a result we necessarily expected from her, but man, she has been really strong to get this season started. Some really good adaptability moving from the open wheelers over to essentially the lightest car we'll drive immediately over to the heaviest one we will drive so far over the next couple of months. But we move on to pretty much the driver that's been uncontested all weekend long. She's been waiting in the wings here for a while, but Mike now standing by with your winner, Sarah Dove.
Sarah Dove, my goodness. Where do I begin? Is because we didn't get to see that much of you, just to be completely honest, Sarah. And I think for your sanity, that was probably a good thing. Let's talk a little bit about the challenges that we had at the start, because that was kind of the only time that we really saw any pressure be applied. How was both of the starts? You led both of them, and you ended up leading them at the end. But pretty much, especially race 1, you had such an incredible start that you were pretty much half a second ahead of the field by the second corner.
Hey, thank you. I think the starts went well. Yeah. I just got a good run, I guess. And just pipped all the rest of the people with reactions, which is ideal for a rolling start.
Over on the side here as yes indeed. Now, talking about the, I guess, really only variables that I saw that you had. Now, obviously, if you had any other things that you ran into, please let us know. But the marbles, I think that was kind of the real variable. How was it that every time you went back around the circuit, it looked more difficult? I mean, I would say that it was levolution throughout the entirety of this one. And every time you came across, especially the third and fourth corner, it was nearly covered.
Yeah, there was I think somebody was setting up a beach party out of turn 2. There was lots of gravel, and each lap it would get cleared away, and then there'd be more gravel again. I definitely had to keep on top of it, because if you push that a little bit, like the same as if the track was completely clear, you'll spin. So you always need to be aware of how the gravel and debris is going to change your grip levels, especially into like turn 2 and 3, because the car is right on the limit on the entry.
Yeah, we
That's-
saw that
that's very easy.
unfortunately from Lucia that had a couple
Oh.
incidents in that exact corner with that exact setup. So yeah, that's pretty much summarizing a good few drivers, unfortunately, that had that fate. But
Oh.
Sarah, as you ended up taking victory in both races 1 and race 2, again, undisputed champion here for Screen to Speed event 2, making the scoring real easy. But is there anybody that you would like to thank for this victory out here tonight?
I'd just like to thank you all for setting it up, and thank my mum because it's Mother's Day in the UK at least.
Very much so. It's a great shout.
Thank you to mum.
There we go. Awesome. Thank you to all the mums around the world as well, of course. Now, that's going to be your victor here for tonight, Sarah Dove. Congratulations, and go enjoy the champagne for the rest of your night. Now, as we get ready here to move on, Jackson, that's going to do it here for this event, Screen to Speed Event 2. And again, let's just go over here real quick and summarize kind of what we saw. We saw at the start of race 1, well, pretty much an incredible start from Sarah Dove getting away. We saw the battles throughout the entirety of the field with Christina and Sophie and Co. pretty much, again, tooth and nail in race 1. And in race 2, Jackson, it was almost, well, again, what is more than tooth and nail? I don't even know. But it was a knife fight in a phone booth, I think, wholeheartedly throughout the entirety of race 2. Some dramas, some contact, some spins, all the way around. What more could you have wanted from an event?
Yeah, I think it was a mix of things there for what kind of turned up the heat in race 2. Not only did you have so many of these drivers learning lessons and realizing maybe the marbles were something you could battle through after race number 1, but I think as well you saw desperation. A lot of people knowing that they had the pace but just needed to really get a roll on in that final 15 minutes. You saw it certainly with Tosi, you saw it with Ryan as well, who was trying to make those moves. But yeah, some really, really good racing. And the best part, Mike, in about a month's time, we'll get to do it all over again.
Yes, indeed. We get to head on over, of course, to Tsukuba in the GR86, is the Japanese car on the Japanese track, a combo made in heaven. Now, we also, of course, have a few others to thank here. We'll get to that in a little bit. But, of course, as we get ready to talk about some of these drivers as well, when it comes to the favorites heading up into the future events, obviously we're into sports cars after sports cars. We saw race 1 was Formula. We get to head back to Formula in a little bit. Jess, being the Formula favorite, I would say right now in our current lineup that we have for Screen to Speed, Jess Visser is going to be our favorite heading into that. But when it comes to the GR86s, again, that's kind of up in the air. Obviously, Sophie being quite apt in pretty much any GT style of car, is that's pretty much her bread and butter. On top of that, we've now seen Christina Ryan being a variable in there that's quite rapid. So I'm very curious to see who is going to take the crown when we head over to the next one.
You got to give it to Sophie Hofelar, who, again, I think was maybe one incident away from being on the podium here and us talking with her this evening. But plain and simple, you've got a lot of ladies who are really, really strong in this category of racing. I think Hofelar, obviously, our two Germans, Weisser and Kathy Geisler, really, really strong as well. But you saw with Christina Ryan as well. She had a really, really strong pace this weekend. I think just plain and simple, you need to see more people coexisting from P2 back on track because the minute that they battled, you know, for that runner-up spot, you saw that gap being built by Sarah Dove. So I think, one, can everybody maybe work together? Is there going to be that same level of carnage when we move over to Tsukuba in a month's time? But does anyone have anything for Sarah Dove? Because she has looked so strong in these sports cars so far, Mike.
Yeah, she really has. I mean, to be fair, I'd have to agree. She's probably the favorite heading into it. But I mean, we can't count Lucia out. We can't count Jess out. I mean, all these drivers are definitely diamonds in the rough, and they can have their moments for certain. Let's wrap up, though. Get ready here, though, and let's talk a little bit about some events that we have upcoming. We just mentioned, of course, the Screen to Speed event that we have coming up next. That's going to be Tsukuba in the GR86s. But up next for real is going to be Spa-Francorchamps in the FIA F4. And that's going to be for, yes, you guessed it, this man on screen right here, Team America. If you are an American and want to get involved with this, this is the American roster for all national competitions that are officially hosted, both online and in lands. Scan that QR code if that's something that interests you. You can be a part of the team, as well as, of course, like I say, Team America. We, on top of that, have, yes, you guessed it, our In It team as well, but also here is that Screen to Speed series. You can scan the QR code if you would like to get involved as well with our all women's championship on top of that. Now, though, as I mentioned, our team that we have as well, our Init team. So if that's something that interests you, we have both Team America and our Init team. Yes, they are separate. This is going to be for any iRacing competitions that we have coming up in the official iRacing calendar. It's both men and women, of course, that are going to be joining that. And if that's something that interests you, you can join the likes of Sophie, Jess, Katie, and a few others as well. Sai going to be our host of that team, and a massive shout out to him for doing so. We also have, of course, our Trackmania, our new sim, ? No, it's not a sim, but it is a new game that we are branching out into. And if you would like to get out onto the ropes, get out onto the ice of Trackmania, scan that QR code and get involved with our league over in the EA platform. You certainly don't want to miss it. There's some big opportunities coming up with some really solid events. If you are a Trackmania fan, get practicing, get involved. We're going to have some more of that here at Init Esports within our community. On top of that, last but certainly not least, we have our main sponsor here for these events, which is Regadget. If you have a PC laying around and you don't know what to do with it, send it on over to them. They can take your PC, refurbish it, turn it into something brilliant, and get it sent off to a less fortunate family. Regadget gives old technology a second life, securely refurbishing devices, reducing e-waste, and helping the cost of digital divides, getting computers into the hands of people who need it most. So again, libraries, schools, you name it, in terms of misfortunate whatevers, they are going to help people out and they're going to get out there. It's a great cause, and I highly recommend checking out Regadget, as they are awesome. Now, though, that is going to do it for tonight. Also, of course, a massive shout out to our production team, Tom Bryant, as well as AK Esports UK, for putting on all of the lovely pictures, fancy graphics, and gadget running around. That's, of course, all thanks to him. Now, though, Jackson, is there anything you'd like to say before we close this one out here tonight?
Good racing today, and again, whether it's Team USA and plenty else to come, always something to do here at Init Esports. But Mike, I think it's time for us to land this plane.
Yes, indeed. Now, folks, thank you all for watching, and thanks to all of the drivers, of course, for participating in this event, and we hope to see you all next time. Now, though, I hope absolutely everybody has a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. Thank you, and good night.